my screen, Dr. Leo. It's 5 p.m.
Well, let's begin then.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I hereby call this meeting of the La Joya Housing Authority to order on this 29th day of December, 2020 at 5:01 p.m. The notice has been posted of the meetings, of the called meeting. I'm going to ask each of you to just state your name for the roll call.
Hi,
Maria
good
Rico, present. Go on.
Hillary Garcia, present.
Thank you. Yvette?
Her mic's off.
Yvette, you're muted. Yes.
Sorry, Rosa Yvette Flores, present.
Thank you. Berta? Berta, if she is, you may be muted as well. We're not hearing you.
Can you at least wave? There you go. I think she's figuring out her technical issues.
Okay. All
For
right.
for the record, Dr. Leo, I do have, let me repeat, I have Berta, I have Miss Hillary, I have Dr. Leo, and I have Miss Yvette.
Correct. Present.
Yes.
All right. I had asked Berta to lead us in the pledge. Are you able to do that?
I think she clicked off. I think she's having a little signal issues.
Some technical difficulties. Mr. Villarreal, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Get her back in. Hold on a second here. And I think she's. Hold on. Ms. Berta, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay.
You're in charge of the pledge, Ms. Berta.
Would you
Okay.
lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for
for
which
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we give thanks that you have brought us together at this point on this day in service to you through our residents and through the citizens of our city. Guide us as we deliberate today's decisions, that the final decisions we make will be that which will best serve the residents of the Housing Authority and the citizens of the city of La Joya. Thank you, Father. Amen.
Amen. Before the meeting starts, I have an announcement. The reason I'm wearing my mask is that I came out positive for COVID.
Oh,
I'm so sorry to hear that.
We're sorry for that.
Yes, I was real sick the first week. This is my second week, and I'm feeling better.
oh, good.
Still not over it, but compared to the first week, I feel a lot better. Thank God.
We'll be praying for you, man.
We will take you in prayer.
Thank you.
Mejorando.
Be in our prayers.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we will have the approval of the minutes of the meeting, and you should have, these were part of the agenda packet. The meeting of November 19th, which was a virtual meeting held online, of course. Have you had time to review them? Let me read through them. They are brief. Pardon? Okay, I'm going to read them. The regular meeting of the La Joya Housing Authority was called to order at 5:15 p.m. November 19th, 2020. Present were Chairwoman Dr. Filomena Leo, Vice Chair Jorge Bazan, Tenant Commissioner Hillary Garcia, Yvette Flores, and Berta Mireles. None were absent. The agenda business covered item 4, the minutes of the meeting of October 6, 2020 that were presented for approval. Minutes were approved by the board. The motion was made by Jorge Bazan, seconded by Hillary Garcia, and was voted on unanimous. Item 5, the Synergy Turnkey Recovery Work Authority, TMLIC IRP member election form was presented to the board for approval. Synergy Recovery is a TML approved partner. This work authorization will allow Synergy Turnkey to provide needed repairs which became necessary due to damage by Hurricane Hannah. Synergy's representatives have met in person and via phone with representatives of the La Joya Housing Authority Board and staff. After reviewing the form and discussion about Synergy references, the board approved the work authorization form. The motion was made by Jorge Bazan, seconded by Yvette Flores, and was voted unanimously approved. Item 6, Resolution 10-2020, excuse me, -01 was presented to the La Joya Housing Authority Board for approval. It was discussed by Executive Director Villarreal that the resolution identifies the HUD and OIG 1-800 hotlines that may be used by staff to report non-productive and harmful practices that hinder transparency and fairness in our housing operations. This important resolution was approved by the board. Motion was made by Jorge Bazan, seconded by Yvette Flores, and approved by unanimous vote. Item 7, after procuring for a consultant that specialized in HUD guidelines, programs, accountability measures, and organizational structures, the La Joya Housing Authority Board was presented with a proposal for services submitted by PHA Consulting LLC. Executive Director Villarreal pointed out that the experience and solid references provided by this firm. After a brief discussion about the terms of compensation, the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approved the proposal. The motion was made by Jorge Bazan, and seconded by Hillary Garcia. The vote was approved unanimously. Is everyone still there? Because my screen changed.
Yes, we're here.
Okay.
Yes, present.
The meeting was adjourned at 5:30 p.m. And the minutes have been submitted by Executive Director Secretary Ruben Villarreal. Does anyone have additions or corrections to make?
No.
None? Then
None.
I call for a motion to approve the minutes as read. Is there a motion?
I second that motion.
Who made the motion? Because I can't see, my screen changed.
Hillary made a second, but I think Hillary has a motion, ma'am.
Who
Yes.
made the motion?
Hillary Garcia.
And who second?
I second the motion.
That's Miss Berta.
Berta. My screen has changed, Villarreal, and I cannot see anyone anymore.
We
So
can see you.
we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as read. If you agree, those voting yes, please say so.
Yes.
Yes.
Those disapproving, a nay. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Mr. Villarreal, how can I get my screen back?
Let me see if I can.
I don't know what happened. I now have the general Zoom scheduling made easy window. I don't know what that is.
Let me see if I can get my Giselle. I cannot find. She's the one that would probably instruct you better than myself.
Okay, let me try continuing then. The next item on the agenda is item 5. Consideration and possible action to approve La Joya Housing Authority's budget for the year 2021. Mr. Villarreal, would you walk us through that, please?
Yes, most certainly. Thank you everybody for being here. I know it's the holiday season. Ms. Berta, you will be in our prayers. And you will see this, first of all, in the packet. I provided last year's budget. This budget, the one that says La Joya Housing Authority's letterhead, and it says overview for year 2020. That was created by myself in-house. I'm not an accountant, but last year at this time, it's not a secret. we were in very short funding. We didn't have enough monies to have professional services available to us. So that is last year's. And if you see that compared to what we were offered this year, if you go to your first page, which is your overview, the first page in the budget, which was created by our fee accountant, which we procured for, it gives a really good overview of and I've been studying this budget. Like I say, this budget is very much in keeping with what should be common within housing authorities. The first thing I will tell you, Madam Chair and commissioners, if you look at the very top right under it says for the year ending 12/30/21,
Yeah.
the 81 and the 19% at the very top, if you see the very small letters,
Okay.
okay, those represent the percent of our budget as it applies to two programs. Remember, we have two programs, our low rent housing program, which is the houses and the apartments, and we have the house choice voucher, which is basically Section 8. Now, Section 8 is where people come and they get a voucher, they choose a place to live, and then we get supplemented through HUD. And the low rent program is the one that we have tenants and we provide for them. Now, the reason I say that's unique is because the variation or the fractions were never clear to us, but our fee accountant is very proficient. He does a lot of housing authorities. So if you look at the numbers, I'm not going to go through all the single numbers, but if you go through let's take the first one.
Mr. Villarreal,
Yes, ma'am.
question. The 81% and the 19% distinction, is that a HUD standard?
That is the formula that our fee accountant came up with that represents.
How did he determine that that's what?
I'm not going to tell you how he determined that. I know there's a formula and there's a method to doing this.
Okay.
It's above my understanding of how to do it within the framework of a budget for these purposes.
Well, would you please follow up with him and maybe get back to us? I'm assuming that he is following HUD standards, but if he's not, if he's using some other accounting formula, it would be good to know. Why do we designate that much for Section 8 and so much for low rent housing?
Yes.
Without knowing anything, I can just tell you these numbers seem very on, because if you think that Section 8 doesn't require a lot of moving parts and our low rent housing does require a lot of moving parts, we have to do a lot of repairs, we have to do
Yes.
upkeep.
Yeah.
The work that's involved in our housing authority, as a housing authority, a lot more of it goes into our units, our housing complex, because
Yes.
there's a lot of functions to it. And where Section 8 is concerned, this seems very, very much in keeping with what I would expect to see. Because
Okay.
in Section 8, for example, we do a lot of paying checks, we do some paperwork, some clerical work, but in the housing end, the low rent housing program, there's clerical work and there's work every single day.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I will ask him. I will ask him. I'm
Okay.
taking notes. I will ask him and get back to you on that.
All right, thank you.
I'm trying to push. I guess if you want to look at the overview, the pages that follow beyond the overview, it's a really careful breakdown of everything you see in the overview. But if you go to expenses in the first column where it says the low rent housing, you see a total of 123,690. And then you see right next to it, a total of 41,870 for the total there at the very end of 165,560. But again, they break up the amounts that are pertaining to the low rent housing program and the Section 8 program. Now, I'm just going to call it Section 8 because I think it's a little more common. So the formulas are throughout. And I'm trying to think of the highlights here, the big numbers. And those are basically our salaries for our housing authority. And if you look here, what's another big one?
49,000 for maintenance labor.
Yeah, that means just everything that we have to fix. Remember that Section 8, we don't fix anything per se. We do clerical work.
Right.
But in the sense of our housing units, I found out through this form, that our housing officially became online in 1994. So the fact that it's a older housing complex means that there's upkeep And I think Ms. Hillary can tell you, we have air condition problems, we have electrical issues.
Right.
Right now, we have a lot more issues having to do structurally that we're going to be working with as far as roofs and that type of thing because of Hurricane Hannah. But those monies are very much in keeping with what I expect to see. These numbers, actually, we provided them all the documentation from what we had from 2019, and then we provided them whatever little we could find from 2018, and that's how we came up with these numbers. They're not just random numbers. We basically asked for a lot of documentation, a lot of data from us, and we provided it to him, and this is the breakdown that he provided based on our numbers.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of-
Going down the list of expenses on that first page, and as you said, you're looking at the bigger ticket items. Toward almost the end of that first column, 81%. Pilot, 11,130. What is pilot?
Pilot, I'm glad you pointed it out. That's one of the highlights that I have also. Pilot it's payment in lieu of taxes. We don't, there's so many acronyms, Doctor. I want to say that I actually downloaded a glossary of acronyms from HUD today, and I was so excited because I found it. I mean, it has every possible, not every possible, it has many of the acronyms that you hear, but pilot is payment in lieu of taxes. We don't pay property taxes per se.
Right.
What happens is, and we're already talked to representatives of La Joya, the amount of money that we owe in property taxes, we give it to them and then they return it to us, and it's called payment in lieu of taxes.
Okay.
So that's an exchange that I've already discussed with HUD, and they are actually supportive of us doing a pilot agreement. But I will tell you that pilot agreements in the past have been mishandled. So they are asking me to be extremely careful, and I'm being very, very plain. I'm not going to mince words here. Pilots have been done twice before, and the 2 times that was done, it was done with less than stellar results. And I've already indicated to HUD that if and when we do a pilot, that I'm going to provide them banking records to verify the fact that the pilot monies is still there in our coffers and doesn't get moved or transferred in any way. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's very important because that money does take on a different meaning. But our CPA, I'm very impressed with his know-how of housing, because I learned by reading this documentation, I actually learned some of the some of the principles that are used through housing in a budget framework. So pilot, you'll hear more about it in the coming months.
Okay.
So my expectation is that we'll be working with La Joya, the city of La Joya, in the near future to get that pilot process going.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm trying to think of, let me see what administrative benefits, you see everything there. There is no, okay, I should point out travel. Our travel is zeroed out, Doctor, for right now.
Thank you.
And this was actually a agreement that I did do with HUD early on because of, again, we did have some issues through our traveling program in the past. Right now, nobody's traveling, but we had already designated us as non-travel until we spoke to HUD, and HUD gives us more of a favorable outlook on the possibility of travel. So there's no travel in this document. But as you well know, Dr. Lee, and I want to mention to the other commissioners, this document's a living document. If we ever have to come back and amend it, a budget amendment, we can do so. And you know how that works. So if we see a need for a change, it's not etched in stone, but it is etched quite deeply into something solid. So if we want to change it, it's changeable during the year, but you do it through a budget amendment that you're very familiar with, I'm sure.
Yes. Good to know.
I'm trying to see I want to say, let me tell you something, expenses wise as to what we fix in the housing authority. And I know that Ms. Hillary is here. We fix a lot of air conditioners. We have a lot of cooling issues and heating issues. We still have some units that still, I don't know anybody else, you know what a furnace is?
Yeah.
Okay. We still have housing units that have furnaces.
Oh my.
Yes. We have several units that have furnaces. We still have units that run partly on electricity and partly on gas, like a stove and maybe a water heater. So when they were constructed that way. We're transitioning over as a need basis, and we're changing out the air conditioners as a need basis. But a largest sizable expense that we have, Dr. Leo, has to do with air conditioners. In the summertime, it's almost a daily ritual that we have, having to fix an air conditioner. And we've already replaced several units. Right now we have 3 real solid providers that are bonded and insured that give us that service. but a lot of the upkeep, besides the normal other things we do, has a lot to do with air conditioning, a lot to do with the fact that our units are quite old. Plumbing also is an issue. I really can't tell you that it is changing of faucets, changing of sink traps. It's really one of those things. I want to commend Ruperto Cantu, and now we have Fidel, who we do a lot of things in-house. And when we can't do, of course, air conditioning requires a license, so we can't do that. But they do a great job of trying to do what they can when they can. And right now we're taking on also the responsibility of fixing our fence. We're almost done. We're about 60% done in our fencing. And that was something that was very pressing to a lot of people because of security issues where we are. So we're fixing our fences as we speak.
Is there, well, the point that you just made about units are old and all of these appliances break down, that's a common occurrence.
Yes.
Is there a
Budget.
general plan for replacing these appliances?
Well,
Does that exist in the housing authority?
let me see, you're trying to say something. I'm sorry.
Yes, or is there like, I see here that you have landscaping grounds, 2,000. Is there, or for janitorial, is there any way we could, from that budget, or make for the appliances that need to be fixed, or like water heaters, air cons and stuff like that? You know,
The larger item you see for tenant, there's a electricity here, but those are utility. I looked at here, there's labor costs, and that's a big one. That's 49,000, I believe. And that's where it comes from. We pull from there. We do also pull from different sources. We have a heating and cooling one that actually has to be a little bit larger. But the landscaping, the reason it's there is because it was there in previous budgets. And our accountant put something there because, be honest with you, someday, keep my fingers crossed, I do want to revitalize our landscaping. And if that day ever happens, I don't want to say, well, we don't have money to fix anything. I have to go back to the board. So you put a little bit of money, like $2,000, in case you have to do some repair work, or maybe we do have a well on site. I don't know if people know that, but we have a water well on our premises. And I understand that it's a live well. We just don't have a way to pump out the water because it was abandoned in a sort of way. So we do want to look at the possibility of revitalizing that well so it can provide water for irrigation for our landscaping. So that's what I mean about having a little bit of money. But I don't want you to understand, Ms. Hillary, that we do have monies for buying appliances, buying water heaters, fixing air conditioners.
Where is that found in the budget?
It's right here under, you see maintenance, labor, you see, hold on here, materials, about 20,000 in materials.
What page? Under
the overview, the first page, the overview.
The first page.
About halfway down, you have
it
water.
under what?
There's water, electricity, gas, sewer, maintenance, labor. We have maintenance benefits and maintenance materials.
Right. But to replace actual appliances, where would you take that from?
Maintenance materials.
Maintenance materials. So you have 20,000 for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I go back to the question. Is there a long-range plan to say, in the next 2 years, we're going to replace all air conditioners. So we're putting money in for that. And the 2 years after that, we will replace water heaters. Anything like that? Is there anything like that that is a part of administration planning?
You could make it a capital improvement project, but what I'm trying to save our capital monies for is our roofs that are coming up. So,
Yes. Okay.
So you do either or, because that can run up, like for example, an outdoor condenser will cost you $2,000. And if you do 10 of them, I mean, anybody can do the math. But what we do typically is we fix it until it's not fixable anymore. We don't abandon refrigerators or condensers that are just non-serviceable. You know,
Okay.
eventually when they get so old, and that's what happens typically, we look at when, you know, they're about 10 years old. After about 10 years old, a condenser has to be replaced. Refrigerators go a little bit longer, but the advantage is that we buy those like at, I think, 5 at a time, and we store them. So we always have one, maybe 2 that are handy. And
Okay.
what breaks very often are water heaters and air conditioners. Those are the 2 biggies.
Okay, but you've answered my question in that the priority, and rightly so, are the repairs on roofs. That has to be done yesterday. So there really is not the luxury of being able to plan for replacements of electrical appliances right now, right away. That's going to be done, as you say, as those items break down to the point where they're not repairable, then you replace them. That's okay. I'm in agreement that the roofs have priority.
Yes,
Hillary, as a tenant, would you agree?
yes, I agree.
Okay.
The roofs have more priority than the appliances.
Hillary, I smile because Hillary and I have long conversations about our roofs, and that's coming around.
Good.
If you saw on our minutes, we had Synergy. I've been in communication with
Yeah.
Synergy, and they're ready to go, but they have crews and they have to
Yes.
mobilize their people, and it's a holiday season, so it's
Okay. Yes. Okay. No, the question has been answered. Thank you.
yes, ma'am. Now, if you go, Dr. Leo, and you can go back to the other pages are just more detailed breakdowns. I mean, you can get as specific as you want, but it gets a bit much. You go into these, it gets a bit much. What I will tell you to go to is, I think it's one of the last pages where it says low rent and low rent operating budget PUM basis.
Yes, I'm right there because that
Okay,
was a question.
I had to find the definition for PUM starts for per unit month.
Yeah.
Just understand that's how detailed it gives you an overview, but then this one gives you an estimated per unit month for whatever repairs or whatever services you're talking about. But that one took me 30 minutes to find. Like I say, I still do not know all the acronyms because there are many, but that means per unit month. It's actually a
And
breakdown.
that's per unit per month?
Yes, per
Okay.
unit month. That's what it stands for. And if you go to the very end, you have a further breakdown of our salaries. But the salary, we have a small team. It's no secret. We have a small team. We have Ms. Valdez. We have Amanda Valdez in charge of finance, Ruperto and Fidel and maintenance, and myself. And that's it. That's all we have right now. I'm hoping that as time goes on, we can maybe add on a part-time. We used to have a part-time housing specialist, but we had to trim that cost when monies were tight, and I'm expecting to have some sizable expenses in the future. But when that happens, we'll address them as you know, time comes. But we do have some sizable non related to repair expenses that I think we're going to incur this coming year. But it's not bad news. Actually, it's just a part of the growing process.
All right. Are there questions from any of the commissioners?
I know there's an awful lot. What I'm encouraging you to do, this is a living document. It doesn't just, if we pass it today, it doesn't stop. You can keep on digesting it, asking questions. I'm gonna email our accountant, ask him a few questions myself, so I know for next time. And keep in mind, this is the first time I could find Dr. Lee. I do want to say that Ron Erlab provided us a very specific and a very solid budget for 2021. I do want to commend them because it's very, very much a building block for future years. This did not exist. I couldn't find anything like this in our system when I got there in September of 2019. So next year, when you see it again, you know, you'll be more familiar with what it looks like and be able to respond to it much, much easier because it's familiar to you all. It's going to be to me as well.
Let me, if I may ask the commissioners, okay, I know Hillary and I came on this year. The other two, you were on the previous board?
No,
Do we have anyone right now that was on the previous board besides Mr. Batsan?
No.
Okay, okay. I just wondered if anything like this or anything, even similar had been preceded.
Going through my records, I don't have deep financial records, but I couldn't find
Right,
I
right.
couldn't find anything that
And the
even resembled
finance,
this.
and the finance person, esa muchacha, not,
Ms. Valdez.
she didn't have records?
The finance person, she was a part-timer in 2018. So she, when I got there, and I'm not gonna repeat it too many times, but everybody in the housing authority would cross over responsibilities. There wasn't one person in charge of any single effort as far as, everybody would help each other out. And so there was not a lot of clear answers for questions that had to do with finance or had to do with housing. And right now, coming out of COVID or the COVID, because we have 30 more days of the moratorium on evictions that's been passed down. And once I think that happens, we're gonna have a lot of work to do, meaning in-house, where I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we start getting vaccinated and be able to open our offices and start dealing with our tenants one-on-one. Right now, we're still under full precautions for COVID, and we're being very, very careful. But I'm gonna say, I'm hoping if what I read is correct, by the month of March, you should start seeing widespread vaccines. So that's kind of our timeline in my head, hopefully, to be able to open our office and then start addressing, many more of the issues that we have with our tenants on a one-to-one basis. We're still dealing with them every single day.
Are you suggesting that you may pick up the pace as far as evictions?
No, ma'am. No, not at all.
What then? What you'll be able to meet with them in order to what?
Well, so some of the issues they had were slow in their payments. I want to tell you something. In March of 2019, I'll say very proudly, we had brought down our bad debt to 4%. When I got there in September, it was at 54%, something like that, bad debt. So more getting people back in the habit of, okay, everything's back to normal. You pay the rent on a timely manner and everything's fine. And that's basically, like I said, the tenants cooperated when they had a chance. But this has thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of people in their lives and jobs, including ourselves. So we're gonna have some adjustment period, coming out of COVID. But I'm very confident that we've been provided a lot of assistance through our congressman. I think everybody here knows he's provided us some resources, and I'm hopeful that we can get a little bit more and then be ready for the next step in this process.
Are you able to give us, at a future meeting, obviously, some kind of a report on the status of our bad debt accounts? We don't need to know the names of the tenants. It can just be you assign them some kind of an indicator.
Yes.
But just to know we have so many who are 90% in arrears, so many who are 100% paid up, anything like that. Are you able to provide us with that?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, I can. I will tell you that we had such reports. I keep on saying in March of 2019, we had very substantially brought down, our bad debt. But when I say I'm not making excuses for anybody I don't know personally, but I know a lot of people had 1 or 2 or 3 jobs and those kind of.
Yes, of course. And that we all know. We all hear the news every day and we all empathize. I'm not asking for the report in order to point the finger at anyone. No. But not by any means. I feel the greatest compassion and empathy for those who have found themselves in these horrible circumstances. But just to be able to follow where our budget is, I am just, and I say this, fellow commissioners, where my comments come from is my fear and my concern at how things were transacted before we arrived at the Housing Authority, and the situation financially that HUD has said to us, you are in bad shape, La Joya Housing Authority. And I don't want it under our watch to ever get to that point. And Mr. Villarreal, with all due respect, And please know this about me too. When I ask specific questions, it is for me to be able to gain understanding, because I take very seriously, as I'm sure each one of the commissioners does, take very seriously the responsibility we have to make sure that La Joya Housing Authority rises to where it needs to be, and that we cannot take anything for granted. We're looking at figures today, and you are correct in telling us the auditor has prepared this, the auditor did a good job, and yes, but I don't know the auditor, and even if I did, that would not be sufficient for me to trust, because if I'm going to raise my hand for something to approve, then I want to have complete understanding of it. And so when I ask, can you give us a report to see where we are? It's just for a reassurance. That's why I said, no family names. Nobody needs to be identified. No, I don't want to know that. I just want to be able to see for myself that A plus B does equal C. And we're not going to be caught wringing our hands at the end of the year and say, we didn't know. Why didn't you tell us? No. We have to question with all respect.
I want to give a complete credit to the board. You've been in very difficult circumstances. We've come a very long way. Let me give you a snapshot without getting too far away from the discussion. Last year at this time, we had maybe, I've said it before, but I'll say it now. We had less than $100 in the bank at this same time last year, at this exact same time. Now we have a healthy fund balance that we use to operate. We weren't funded. We became funded officially in late February of 2019. So we've done incredible things, Dr. Leo. I mean, and I say you all, we've had an incredible team effort, including the tenants who understood that it wasn't us trying to do anything difficult other than make sure that we have a housing authority that can provide for all the families that we possibly can. Exactly. And yes, that was almost sacrificed through unfortunate circumstances, but we're not there today. And all the transparency that you ask us, Dr. Leo, or the commissioners, I completely invite. I want that transparency. As right now, we're talking on social media, they'll see this, but La Joya Housing Authority, I want to tell you, has an incredible story that's unfolding as we speak, and where we go tomorrow, where we go next year is going to be exponentially better than we are today.
Okay.
Yes.
Good to know. Okay. Is there anything else, Mr. Villarreal, on the budget figures you are presenting now for the 2021 year?
No, Dr. Leo, but I do invite questions anytime after this, whatever may happen. I invite any questions and I'll try to, if I can answer them, I'll get you the answer.
Very good. You heard that, commissioners, even after.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's good to know. All right. Do any of you have any specific questions of Mr. Villarreal at this time regarding, before we vote on approval of the 2021 year budget? Any questions?
I do.
All right.
I don't know.
I cannot see. Who is
Sorry,
it?
it's Miss Hillary.
Okay, Hillary, go ahead.
I don't know if it pertains to, but it does have to do with the tenants. Some tenants are behind rent. And my question is, are they supposed to have late fees? Because I know, let's say they're behind 2 to 3 months or even 6 months since the pandemic started. Is there those late fees? Are they supposed to be charged to the tenants with the COVID relief funding and
Tomorrow I'll share this. I just got the latest update and it makes it very clear that late fees or anything else like that are not forgiven under the program that's right now.
They are not?
They're not, no.
Wow.
And I'll send you, I just got that email. I got the latest update this morning at about 10 o'clock and I read through it. But since day one, when this project started, they've never been forgiven. There's no forgiveness program. and there's no assistance program. The money's for rents or for people struggling to actually go through Hidalgo County. There is money for that, and I've tried several times to communicate with that office with little luck, but Hidalgo County does have monies through, I think, Mr. Longoria's office. I don't know what office it is.
Yeah.
And so there may be relief there. I don't know how it operates, but no, Ms. Hillary, there's no forgiveness for late fees or anything like that. And I'll send you the email tomorrow that specifies that. It says it very specifically.
And do the tenants know this?
Yes, that's my question. Like a lot of us tenants don't know about the assistance or the forgiveness or the anything that's going on, you know, as in the COVID relief or the anything like at all. They come and ask me and I don't know. I tell them, well, can you call to, you know, housing, you know, I don't know if they call, but they come and asking me and I'm like, I don't know what to tell them. But that's one of the questions I have gotten a lot.
Yeah, the tomorrow I'll send you the email and it specifies there very clearly that although they're not, there's a moratorium on evictions, there is, but the language there specifically says, and I saw it again this morning, said that there is no forgiveness, if you will. We're not in the business of forget. We don't have that option. There's nothing in our system. But only thing that the program does offer is a moratorium, so people have a chance to, I guess, get on their feet and to be able to satisfy their housing responsibilities. But all the tenants we have do sign a contract. The contract's actually pretty straightforward, and it does talk about late fees and whatnot. But I don't have within, and I can check with HUD, but I'm not going to give you a lot of hope. Like I think I've asked them before, but they don't give us a lot of latitude as to what we can and cannot do. A lot of these things are mandated through HUD. It's not our regulation that we do internally. It's something that's required as a policy or a guideline through HUD.
When is the moratorium? When does that end?
The 31st of January, 2021.
So after that, tenants will have to catch up with the late rent?
Yes, ma'am.
And they will be charged late fees?
Yes, as far as I can tell you, I can't tell you that. I don't know how many people have late fees, but there's nothing in the language that I saw this morning, and I'll share it tomorrow, that specifies that it gives me any parameters to forgive or to.
No. Yeah, so they will have to pay late fees.
Yes, I'll try to get more clarification on that. I'll ask HUD if I have any flexibility, but keep in mind, I do fully expect to be, I want to say the way it sounds, audited in the near future from HUD. So I do want to do things as above board as possible.
Correct. And as you said, and you are correct, you don't have that authority. We don't have that authority. Ms. Garcia, please share with the tenants who ask you or anyone that it is not up to us to do any forgiveness. All we can hope for, and I don't know what, if anything, is coming down from Congress, viven de pleito. And we don't know. God willing, the additional 2,000 will come to those who are waiting. But even then, the question of late fees, because people are going to say, pues no es justo, yo no tenía con qué. And
I don't blame them.
We understand that. We do, but we cannot. And again, it goes back to, we are on the line. So we don't, with HUD, we don't want to do things that are going to make us continue to sit in a bad place. HUD says thou shalt, then we must. And that's what it's going to come down to. But it would help to get some word out, Mr. Villarreal, maybe some PR announcement, and please make it considerate and gentle, because people are going to be put in a very, very hard place.
No, I think all the tenants, including Hillary, I'm there every day. So I've had multiple conversations with our tenants, and I used to have more of them. Obviously now it's a little more difficult, but we are there every day. And I want to say that we're there to work with all our tenants. And Hillary, you know that I've talked to you several times in person and through the phone. And we're here to provide services and to provide housing. But Dr. Leo, you very astutely said we are on the line also. This program has to be handled with the utmost care. And we have to be the example of process and procedure, because we're still a troubled housing. Now, we've come a very long way. I mean, we've come a very, very long way. And I'm very grateful for all the support that I've gotten from the board and the community. But we'll work with the tenants. And I want to say it with every ounce of my being that I'm here to work with them in every way I can. And I'm hoping just the way before, when we had the first circumstance, if I repeat that, 57% of our tenants were in arrears at one point, 57%. And we worked with all of them. And we brought that down to 4%. And I was very happy that the tenants cooperated and helped us, because it's them helping themselves and helping each other. So we're going to keep on with that attitude of trying to help each other out and hopefully find a good resolution to this.
Very good. Yes, we are far from being out of the woods, and we know that.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions? Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
No questions.
If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented by Mr. Villarreal, the budget for the La Joya Housing Authority's budget year 2021. Is there a motion?
I first the motion.
And that is who?
Yvette Torres.
Okay, again, I apologize. I cannot see any of you. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion. Berta Mireles.
That was Ms. Berta.
Second. Thank you, ladies. We have a motion and a second to approve the 2021 La Joya Housing Authority budget as presented by Director Mr. Villarreal. All those who agree, say aye.
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 Those opposed? I hear none. Motion passes. The budget is approved. The next item that we have, Mr. Villarreal, is adjournment. Were you going to give us any additional information, but not as part of this meeting?
I was going to send you the financial report, but our financial coordinator has the flu. And she has, Ms. Mandy has the flu.
She has a regular flu.
She has the regular flu. I didn't question her. She said she had the flu. She's been out for the last 2 days. And I guess she's being careful. We've been very, very careful within ourselves, but she has the flu. So you'll see a financial report probably in the next 3 or 4 days. That's the only thing that's pending from here.
Okay, all right. Then there is no other business to transact, Mr. Villarreal?
No, ma'am.
When will we receive an update on the suit that you gave us reference?
I emailed our attorney twice. I'll email him. I'll call him tomorrow to follow up and see what timeline he has. But he's already been contacted twice regarding it. And he did respond. He did say something like, "Yes, sir, I'll get to it," or something like that. So, but keep in mind that the response that we had from our carrier just reached us yesterday about 11 o'clock or something like that.
Okay.
So it's still, but I'll let you know as soon as he lets me know. I'll share it with everybody.
Okay. I would like to call for a motion to adjourn. And please give me your name when you do the motion to adjourn.
I, Hillary, adjourn this meeting.
Who's making the motion?
It's
Hillary, that's it.
Hillary, a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second the motion. Yvette Flores.
Yvette, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing no objection, the motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for making the effort to come together so that we can continue taking care of business. Thank you, Mr. Villarreal.